Howdy neighbor, how is your garden growing? Today in my garden, we're gonna be doing some spring planting. So if you're looking for some inspiration and some ideas and tips so that you can have the garden of your dreams throughout spring, this is the video for you. And as always, to help me with my planting, I'm gonna be using my handy dandy Wild Floridian garden planner, which you can pick up at www.wildfloridian.net/planner. Probably most of you have been doing a lot of vegetable gardening. We've already gone through fall and winter, and now we're kind of heading to the tail end of the classic vegetable garden season. But if you haven't started yet, there's still a lot of vegetable gardening to do because here in Florida, we can vegetable garden all year round. There's no ending to this. It just keeps going. So whether you are going to be starting with completely fresh empty beds or containers, or you're going to have something in it, we're going to talk through those steps. So first step, whether we are starting fresh or we're starting with a garden that has stuff in it, we need to just draw out our spaces. We need to get a place where we can just draw out all the beds and figure out how much space do we have to fill. Actually, let me go show you around. I'll show you how I'm kind of looking at this step by step. So first up, I have this north trellis and it's got tomatoes on it. These tomatoes should all be making it through spring. They look okay, I would say. Not as good as my ones up front. I've got ones that are producing lots of fruit. Hooray! Oh, can you see them? Yep, you can see them. But they haven't taken off as much, and it's probably because this soil is not as enriched as the soil I have up front. So I can plan for these all to be here, but I need to do something to get these guys going because they only got 3-4 months, and then boom, it's gonna be too hot for them. This center bed, a project that didn't go as well as I thought it would. The kale did great. It's hanging on, it's happy. But the strawberries, they didn't do so well. Bed did awesome. The broccoli did awesome. The lettuce did awesome. The kale did awesome. The ahisae peppers are still alive, shockingly, and might actually turn it around, but I'm not planning on it. The green onions actually are still going, the ones that I replanted. The onions are doing their thing. Actually, the ones over here are way better. Okay. So I really don't have a ton of gaps in this bed when it comes to my cold weather crops, but I do have maybe some opportunity depending on whether these ahisaes turn it around. Oh, these are ahisae peppers if you don't know that name. This bed, the lettuce did great. We've been eating so much. The onions, not so much. The beets were doing well, but then squirrels came in and they damaged a lot of this area. Actually, I think something larger got in here too because we kind of had everything die in a pretty big section pretty fast. Here, look at these, looking great. Beets, looking great. Onions, looking great. I see a weed and that should go. But overall, even if I can't get bulbing onions, I'll get green onions out of these. And then of course, I'm going to get some amount of beets and beets greens. My cute bell peppers, they're still hanging in there. They're still happy. So I don't have a ton of gaps in this bed when it comes to cold weather crops and warm weather crops. This bed, yay, lettuce. We got broccolis. This broccoli never took off. These broccolis didn't take off for some reason. The lettuce didn't take off here. I actually pretty much have a good idea of why this is happening. And all of my jalapenos died. My kale is very happy. This stuff's happy. And then this stuff was doing really well and similar. We had, I don't know if you can see, there's big gouges here. We had some critters get in here. But overall, this is doing, I would say, okay. So you can get an idea of kind of how I'm going about. I've got gaps, I've got some spaces. Now when it comes to my cold weather crops, I expect most of them to make it through March and they'll make it through April. And from last year's planter, I know that when we kind of hit that late April, May, a lot of this stuff started to go. So we had everything bolting. You see there's already one broccoli bolting, but in general, they're probably gonna do okay. But my lettuces will all start bolting. Beets will probably start to fade out if I haven't pulled them. Onions, it'll depend whether they develop enough or not by that point. So I know for March, April, maybe I've got some stuff covering in here, but you can also see there's a lot of gaps and a lot of opportunity for weeds to jump in. And then you can see that center bed. Well, there's not a lot happening in there. So I've got some opportunity areas. And when it comes to my warm weather crops, like my tomatoes, I know they're gonna make it all the way through June. And things like my peppers, some of these types of peppers, I know they can actually, if they're established first, will actually make it through the summer months and back into the fall months. So as long as they're looking healthy, they can go the distance. But up front, I still have a lot of opportunities too. Front garden, which is going through a huge cottage garden renovation right now, there's a lot of good things happening, but those good things aren't going to go through the entirety of the springtime period. We have this bed, which of course has carrots in it. Those will probably end up coming out in April. Sweet potatoes, those will hang on all the way through the summer and go right back around into fall. And then I have green onions, but you can see there's a lot of gaps in this bed. Green onions don't take up a ton of space, and there's a lot of opportunity for us to put something else in here. So this is definitely one that we want to figure out. In this front bed, something very similar is going on. I've got a lot of green onions. There's still a lot of opportunity to put something else in here. So I need to figure out something for this for spring, if not spring and summer. I gotta take you out why, because honestly, this is the one tomato trellis. They have gone absolutely insane. I'm gonna have a silly amount of tomatoes off this trellis. This side is kind of got a gap, but as my members know in my community, that I've already planted out more Everglades tomatoes that were found all throughout the yard. So this is replanted, and it's gonna probably look like that. I have so much salsa to oh my gosh. Those are just Everglades tomatoes. Okay, and then on the other side, we have the other tomatoes. So these are the 4th of Julys, and then I've got chocolate Cherokee and purple Cherokees kind of mixed in here. Again, a silly amount of tomatoes in this area. I can't even explain how many tomatoes are in here. So this is gonna be covered all throughout spring. I don't need to plan anything for this area at all. Nothing. I mean, just tomatoes everywhere. Just everywhere. I can't even find them all. They're all over the place. I need a prune so bad. That needs to be on my spring plan. Prune the tomatoes massively. Okay, so we've drawn out our spaces. We've gone and taken a little survey, at least of my yard. Hopefully you've done similar with yours, is what's gonna be in there throughout the whole spring season, what's gonna be kind of being harvested and coming out, so that you kind of know what spaces do you actually need to fill for the spring season. The next step is ideas to fill. It depends where you live. If you have the planner, of course, we have lots of spring ideas. In general, it's gonna be warm weather crops are things that we should be transplanting in. When it comes to seeding warm weather crops, it's not only gonna depend on whether it's a tomato or a pepper, it's gonna depend like what varieties. So things like Cubanelle, I wouldn't start by seed right now because I don't know if it can get established enough. But when it comes to like the ajices, also known as like ají dulce, they don't produce really well in the spring, I find, in my area, but they produce a lot in the summer. Like an insane amount. So them getting established right now as seedlings or as seeds wouldn't be as big of a deal. So this is kind of where it gets a little funky. Tomatoes, I would be like, it depends again on variety. Absolutely no big tomatoes. But if you're doing like an Everglades tomato, they're really slow to start, but they can go through the summer if you want them to. Also depends again where you live. My North Florida is a little bit different than my Key Westers, you know. But things that you should be definitely thinking about across the board is warm weather crops and then some of your hot weather crops. So those would be tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, tomatillos, beans, squashes, especially things like your hotter weather squashes, like your Seminole pumpkins. And then you should think about hot weather crops, especially my Central and South Floridian. So you want to think about like your okras, your roselles, some of your peas and beans, like your black eye peas, those who have Puerto Rican black beans, like that kind of stuff, your loofahs, a lot of that stuff you can still start by seed right now. And there's still stuff that like you should be thinking about starting right now. Like I want to just start some sunflowers. Usually it's like February. March is a little bit on the late side, but I don't really care about harvesting the seeds. I just want the flower. So whatever. So those are kind of the main things. The big thing is it is warming up really, really rapidly. We're generally not going to have any cold fronts in spring. The sun intensity, we're up in that 9 UV index range. So you're having more of the sun intensity for those who just moved to Florida. Like this is like the intensity of your sun. If you lived in New York, if you lived in Chicago, this is like peak summer UV is starting to hit throughout the spring months. So it's intense. And then the bug pressure is going to be like big because we're above 60 degrees. So all the bugs are coming back really strong at this time of year. The other thing to think about is that throughout spring is that like you're definitely going to have to stay on your watering, because rain is going to be so hit or miss until we kind of get to like the tail end. Once we get to June, then it starts to get into that summer cycle, but the whole beginning part's going to be, and our water table's dropping. That's water underground. So roots that don't go beyond, I actually just did a project in the cottage garden. So I can tell you in my area, the water table is 34 inches below land. So, and tip for you guys, I know a lot of people ask me like, where do I get seeds? One, I Target, Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's. I know Though most of those seeds don't work, but I still do use some of those seeds. Like the 4th of July tomatoes that are like insane up front right now. Those are just, was it Burpee brand? But in general, if I were starting and I didn't know the varieties, I would hit up Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. No connection with them. But I'm just going to tell you, like, they focus on varieties that work in the South. And like when you read the descriptions, you'll actually find where it says like, you know, developed for Florida, developed for South Florida. Like it has information like that. Or it'll say like it's developed for Kentucky or Tennessee or wherever. But you can find the Florida varieties. So all the stuff that was back here were Florida. I mean, it was Southern Exposure seeds, and they have like really, really good germination rates. So especially as a beginner, if you want to get into seeds, or you're new to the area, or you don't know what varieties, I would check out Southern Exposure. That's my tip for you. So for me, what am I doing? What's my game plan in this mess? So first off, I noted what peppers I had in the beds. So we still have some Cubanelles surviving. Actually, those Cubanelles look really good. Those Cubanelles look, maybe need to be replaced. I'm not sure. I might replace them just because like they had a rough start in life. Maybe we just need to start fresh. Green onions across the board will be staying. Dino kale will definitely be staying. Eventually the broccoli is gonna be going. Though I'm gonna tell y'all, if you're fading out your broccoli and you're like, oh, it's bolting, I have been using all the broccoli leaves as spinach substitutes. So, you know, I don't really care if they bolt on me as long as I keep getting leaves. Then because we're going to be going through the warm season and I've got spaces and gaps and I just don't think like some of these broccolis and beets are going to really take off, I was trying to think through what do I need a lot of, what did I use a lot of last year, and it was kind of down to, for me, peppers. We eat a lot of peppers. We are a big like taco, burrito, chili family, so we like and use peppers just a lot of the time. Pickled peppers, fresh peppers, cooked peppers, peppers. My favorite variety, especially for those who were like, I want to do bell peppers and they're just not working very well. I have never had really good success with bell peppers. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I've never had good success with bell peppers. But the type of bell pepper, I have had a ton of success, and it's actually been like super easy. And the plant lived like 18 months, or plants, were Cubanelle peppers. Cubanelle peppers, if you're not familiar with them, they originate out of the Caribbean, and they are a mild pepper. And Cubanelles are ones that like are gonna go and go and go, and they can survive the heat of the summer. They'll slow down, but it's the one type of pepper I've had where I've had like harvest almost every single month if I get them in the right location. So consider Cubanelle peppers if you're a pepper person. Tomatoes, of course, I'm gonna tell you all to like do Everglades tomatoes. Those are such an easy and great and prolific. A lot of people have said they do really well with Romas. I've also done really well with like Sweet 100, the cherry varieties, grape varieties, any of those smaller tomatoes. Eggplants, okay, I'm thinking of doing eggplants, especially that one bed with green onions up front that's near the house, because Pink Tongue did really well for me. I think I still pulled them out in June. I might be really late. Here's my thought process. I'm gonna order some Pink Tongue seeds, and if they can't get started now and I'm too late, I'm okay with that. I will just hold the rest of the seeds for the fall. And that's one of the things. If you're working on warm weather crops and they don't take off right now, hold on to your seeds, because fall, we're just coming right back around to all these varieties. Beans, I know me, I'm gonna be doing Puerto Rican black beans. I tend to do those and Cherokee Trail Tier black beans. There's a lot of variety. There's so many varieties of beans that you could be doing. Consider any of them. You can start corn. I have never been successful with corn. Most people struggle with corn down here. I wouldn't do corn. And of course, I'm all about Seminole pumpkins, so I've got it running on the ground. I really didn't mark that on here. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. In the one bed where the Cubanelles that I started last year and they kind of like, they never took off, I'm gonna go see if I can just go pick up some banana peppers. And I'm gonna fill in the spaces with banana peppers. Then I'll have a lot of banana peppers. We can eat them fresh, we can pickle them. I love banana peppers, yes. Over here, this bed, I don't know, these ahises kind of look like they're surviving. They kind of don't. I kind of want to restart them. I was at the store the other day. I saw that they had a lot of peppers at the Home Depots. So I might just get more Cubanelles, shove them in this bed. I like doing this one because it's closest to the door when I walk the dogs and everything. Or not walk the dogs, let the dogs out back. It'd be the easiest to grab for Cubanelles. And if we do salads, we use Cubanelles. But I am going to restart the ahise peppers and give them a fresh start to get going. And then I might fill them in, because I'm gonna start them now. By the time all this broccoli's done and this lettuce is done, we'll have gaps. So it'll be like a good time. On this bed, those cubanelles seem to be doing maybe okay, so we might leave them. But I have space, so if I can put more cubanelles or banana peppers, I'm gonna do that. Back there, jalapenos died. We need more jalapenos in my life. I'm not restarting from seed. And those are ones that I can usually start. I know the pricing's not great. Okay, tip. There are some of you who are phenomenal seed starters, and you're gonna say in the comments, how could you buy stuff? It's so, like, you're not gonna get a return on investment, so on and so forth. True, facts. You may or may not get a return on your investment. When you spend $5 on a plant, you might not. You probably won't. Depends. If you're new, here's the thing. There are so many skills to develop as a new gardener. While it might not be a good financial return on investment, for you, I would just buy the plant, and here's why. You have to learn how to transplant it, water it, fertilize it, prune it, harvest it, pick a right location for it. You have to learn all that, let alone start it by seed. So maybe your return on investment isn't financial, it's more knowledge based. So for my beginners, I do not shame yourself. Also, sometimes you just have to deal with the fact that you're late, or you didn't start enough, or something didn't go right. So you can either leave the gap, start something new, or you can buy something. These are your choices. So is it perfect? No, but the world's not perfect. So I like to keep it moving. I'll buy some stuff if I don't think I can with the timing I have here in Zone 10, be able to start and do it the perfect way. I'd rather get harvest. And with plants like cubanelles and jalapenos, for me, where I live, I know and have had a lot of success with these ones. I'll get the money back on them. I'm not worried about those. So that's kind of my main thing. In the center bed, I got the kale. I had tried to do strawberries. My fault. It's not the people who sent them to me. Left them on the counter for 3 weeks. They got moldy. So they didn't survive. But I'm thinking basil. A couple reasons for basil. Something for you guys to think about too is adding herbs to your garden. I want to add basil because, one, I can both use it fresh, caprese. You're gonna have tomatoes. If you don't know caprese, you should know caprese. Fresh mozzarella, fresh basil, fresh tomatoes with a little bit of balsamic vinaigrette, olive oil, sea salt. Tastes so good. But also, when you end up with a ton of basil, you can just like dry it. Super easy. Done it. Mush it up, put it in a jar, bam, you got basil. So I can grow a lot of basil. Plus it's gonna flower eventually, which will bring more bees in the area. And with peppers, you want more bees in the area. And since I don't have as many of my native plants in this area right now, though I see pollinators around, not as much as up front. Up front's crazy. But back here, future game plans. But I need to have something that's gonna bring the bees in. I'm also thinking, because I'm probably not gonna get bulbing onions and I wanna kind of just fill in the space, I'm gonna try onion chives and garlic chives, or I'm sorry, I'm gonna try garlic chives. So we're gonna add garlic chives onto this plan. And yes, I did use a highlighter to indicate the different color, because I'm gonna add some purple basil in here too. I'm gonna direct sow seeds in here. I'm just using whatever brand from like the store. And then same thing with chives, I'll just try out. I was at Target, I saw them, I bought them. It's my impulse buy. I don't buy stuff. People buy bags and shoes and makeup and all sorts of stuff. I buy seeds. This is my fun thing. So let's not be judgy of ourselves. Let's enjoy impulse buying seeds. It's a good thing to do. In the front garden, okay, so we talked about like maybe we do, if I can get some pink tongue seeds, I would put it there. Sweet potatoes are gonna be there all spring, not worried about that. Carrots, you know what? I was looking back, I think I pulled a lot of them in April last year, so I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that bed. I am open to thoughts. Love to hear your thoughts. I'm not sure what I'll do with that. I go back and forth. This front bed, I know what I wanna do with this one. Roselle. If you don't know Roselle, you should know Roselle. It can be used as a cranberry substitute for like cranberry sauce. So yummy. Even my dad liked it. I'm gonna get seeds. Actually, I already started getting seeds started. I'm so excited. And I'm gonna put those up front. I'm just gonna start some sunflowers. Why? Because I can. And I'm gonna shove them in the ground amidst my Dune sunflower. Dune sunflower, if you guys aren't familiar, it's a native sunflower to Florida. It stays very low. It puts out sunflowers that are only this big. It's not the giant stalk ones, but in past years, I've planted actual like the big sunflowers in the middle. It's like kind of a fun combo. And I think I'm gonna go back and do that. So I'm gonna get some sunflower started. So what I'm doing as I'm kind of going back and forth and figuring this stuff out is I'm noting it on this page. Again, if you're following along with the planner, I'm starting to make a list of like which plants I need to propagate, which ones I need to transplant, which ones I'm probably going to be harvesting throughout spring. And so I just got running things. So I know I need 4 he-safe peppers, 4 sweet basil, this is to propagate, 4 purple basils, garlic chive and onion chives, 6 roselles, 6 sunflowers. Depending what I find at the store, 4 to 8 Cubanelle peppers, 8 to 12 banana peppers, 8 jalapeno peppers. And then other things I need to do is create because this is just, it's not as good of soil back here yet as my front yard stuff that I've done. And I can't do necessarily the same process that I did up there. So I need to add a slow release fertilizer. So I'll probably get one of those, like, I already have it in the garage, like those like little shaker ones. But also I'm gonna do like a homemade NKP. I also might note I need to buy ping tung seeds. And I just need to keep going with all my cottage garden projects. There are so many. We're making good progress, but my goodness. Also, I noted, prune your tomatoes. Prune them. They're so crazy. As you noticed with my beds, there were lots of opportunity areas, and that's because I'm always in a state of learning. And I know most of you are too. If not all of us are always in like a journey of learning, which is why I would love to hear from you. Like, what are some of the things you're gonna do different this spring, or things you learned, or things that you think I should do? Because y'all give good tips for me. You know, Florida's classic vegetable season is fall, winter, spring. So in theory, we're kind of on the tail end of the classic vegetable season, which means it's a really good time to start capturing notes on, especially for your cold weather crops, what went well, what didn't go well, what would you do differently, and put those notes in your fall section. Of course, if you have my Wild Floridian garden planner, you can do it right in here. You can start making notes of varieties that worked really well. I know for me, like I already have like a general game plan for fall on which varieties I'm gonna use, the way I'm gonna structure the, like, not structure the beds, like move or buy, but like what I'm gonna put where based on all the things that I noted and I learned through this last fall and winter period. So before you kind of get all your cold weather crops out, start making notes in your fall section of things that went well, things that didn't, and things you would do differently. That way when we hit our next kind of big full reset in the fall, you are in such a good place so that you can have an amazing fall and winter later this year, next year, you know what I'm saying. So we've gotten our drawing put together. We've filled in gaps. We've figured out what's going to be coming out of our beds and therefore what we need to put into our beds. And so one of the key steps besides making a spring list is, as you start to work through your plan, is start to move these action items into your monthly plans. That way you know what you need to do at the end of March, April. What are you going to be doing in May? What are you going to be doing at the beginning of June? So that you don't get caught up in the season. It is one of the biggest challenges here in Florida is that we never stop gardening. There's not always a clear reset time, and it can be really easy to get kind of lost in all the stuff. So make sure that you take your plan from a big seasonal plan and start breaking it down into a monthly plan. Well, you know what? Enough with the planning. Let's actually get the spring plan in motion. So we're gonna start getting some stuff planted. I already have my sunflowers started. I have my, oh, you can't see it. Here you go. I have sunflowers and roselle started. I've got some basil already planted in the bed. I got some chives I threw the seeds in for the bed. Do I have footage of it? Video editing. The magic of video, I have more basil here in case those ones don't want to take off. And then I got a ton of peppers I picked up. So let's get putting all these things on the ground. Basil. Purple basil. Not purple basil. Purple basil. Can you see the chives? These Cubanelles are looking pretty good. So I think we're gonna hang on to those ones right there. So in addition to snagging my peppers and already having my seed starts, I did order my ping tung, and you can get them from Southern Exposure, so those seeds are on their way. But let's go and start placing where these peppers are gonna go based on the plan that we just drew out. So I got only 5 cubanelles at the store, and even though I either needed 4 or 8, I got too excited and I just was like, I'm buying it. You know what, that one ahise looks really sad. I'm just gonna put it where that one ahise is. Okay, now it's time for us to dig like a bajillion holes. Yay! Okay, peppers are in. Now let's go plant the sunflowers and roselle. The basil that's still just starting to pop up, we're gonna leave in these trays so that they have a little bit more time to mature before I transplanting them. Plus, I might just have a bunch of extra basil because the ones that I planted in ground are already taking off, so I might not even need these. But you know me, I'll just like shove them in somewhere. Okay, so let's go do sunflowers and roselle. Okay, we're up front, and this is the bed that we're gonna be putting the roselle in. So it's between the 2 arched trellises, and I think it's gonna be a great spot because once they start getting their beautiful, oh my gosh, that's a red admiral butterfly, which you probably can't see. That's cool. What will be great is even long before we ever get a harvest, we're gonna get like pink hibiscus flowers right in here. And as the cottage project cleans up a lot of the stuff around it, it'll allow them to really pop right here. So exciting all the way around. So let's get these little starts in the ground. So these guys are my roselle starts. Boo, boo, boo. They're just starting to get their first true set of leaves. So it's probably a little early, but we're gonna get them in the ground today. And if I have to restart them, that is okay. Okay, so we've got our 6 roselles in the ground, and now we're gonna go plant out sunflowers. Typically I would just put the seeds in the ground, but the last couple years, or at least last year, I did a couple rounds of trying to, and there's too many critters in the area. They keep eating the seeds. So I figured I'd give them like a quick start and then get them in the ground. So I'm gonna be placing cages, not because sunflowers need cages, but more so I know where the sunflowers are supposed to be in case 1, a critter eats them, or 2, we step on them. So that's kind of the main thing I'm doing. So there are 3 varieties of sunflowers in here. If you enjoyed going along for this experience and you would like to pick up your own Wild Floridian garden guide, go ahead and pick it up at www.wildfloridian.net/planner. And if you're looking for a way to stay on top of all these tasks and kind of the the smaller things that you have to do. That's what I actually do in my members community. Is every week there's a vlog where I take you through, this is what I'm doing. And you can click on that link right here, okay? I'll see you soon. Bye.